Hello, welcome to Tea for Tea. My name is Frankie Weiner. My pronouns are they, them.
Hey everyone, I'm Thomas Krever, he, him, his.
Hi, my name is Esme. They, them, or he, him.
All right, today is unfortunately our last episode on Tea for Tea. I know we're very, very sad, but we are so grateful to y'all for
Yes.
coming and watching our shows every week and engaging with us.
Thank you so much.
Bravo, here.
Yeah. So our topic today is going to be World Pride, and we have a guest with us today that we are very, very excited about. So do you want to introduce yourself and talk a little bit about what you do at HMI?
Sure, I'd be honored. Thomas Krever, I'm the Chief Executive Officer at the Hetrick-Martin Institute, or
The
CEO. That's me. And so generally what I do is kind of lead the ship in a way, if you will, and I make sure that we, as an organization, are following the mission, always keeping young people front and center, and making sure that in a world where there's lots going on, lots of loud voices, that the voices of our young people, LGBTQIA in particular, are not lost or drowned out, making sure that there are spaces for them, for you, that, I won't say giving you a voice, because you already have voices, and they're quite beautiful. I think it's about my role and the agency's role in amplifying and creating spaces so that your voices can be heard, not as a privilege, but as a right.
Wow, okay. So, what does HMI as a company do about Pride? Like, how does it celebrate it?
Ooh. So what we try to do is we have an incredibly hardworking team, staff, volunteers, and young people. And I think first and foremost, what jumps out at me when you ask me what do we do about Pride is we make sure we're visible. I think that kind of just jumps out immediately for me. And that's because we want to recognize Pride. It's really more than one day or even 1 month a year, quite frankly. And so while it's wonderful to celebrate Pride the month of June, it's making sure that young people know they have a right to be proud and make sure that the world is ready and supporting our young people all year. But in the month of June, it's about really making sure that the visibility of the young people, the thousands of LGBTQIA young people that we serve, that they're out there, that they're front and center. So you'll find HMI, you'll find us at all 5 boroughs, all the prides. You'll find us obviously at the big one coming up, World Pride, which I know we'll talk about.
Yes.
And really making sure that as many young people as we serve, there's so many more young people that are still not connected. And so the visibility is really imperative. It's important because there's always another generation of young people who deserve the same connectivity as we all have here.
They do.
I'm actually going to skip around with the questions
Sure.
a little because I think what you started to touch on kind of leads into another thing that we wanted to discuss. How does HMI make sure that it is truly centering the most marginalized people and the people in our communities who need to be brought up the most during Pride season and the rest of the year as well?
Right. I think when you ask, like, so how do we know or how do we reach those most marginalized? Like what jumped out immediately when I hear it is we ask you. Like, so it's about your voice. I think that we can adultify, make up a word, but I think it's about us asking you, where do we need to be? I'll give you an example. So we know young people, the number one reason, do you know what statistically the number one way young people find their way to HMI is? You. Literally. So the word of mouth is the number. Over 80% of young people that come through our doors at 2 Astor Place or through any of the programs they may find us in across the city heard about it because of young leaders like you, like yourselves. And I think that's the testament of a good program, right? Because as much as I want to be able to reach everyone, I'm not you. I'm not frequenting where you're frequenting. I don't have the connectivity that you have, nor should I make believe or try to. You do. You're the experts. You know where we need to be. So I think first and foremost, that's probably a long answer, but it's what jumped out at me immediately.
That's definitely no problem at all. Like, I've told so many people about HMI because like it actually
Good,
helped.
thank you.
Like HMI helped me when I was struggling. So like
Thank you.
I'm happy about HMI. So.
Thank you. And I think that, and thank you for that, seriously,
No
truly. And if you weren't, you wouldn't be telling people, right? Or you would, and you'd be voting with your feet and going somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So I think, like for us, for the service provider, for the adults, our job is to be neutral. Like if we have a bad day, you shouldn't know that. This is your space. So regardless of what's going on in my work life, my work day, you should come in and you should be greeted by a smile. I always say, when you get out of the doors of the elevator at 2 Astor Place, you should feel like you were just hugged. Every day, unwaveringly and unequivocally. I can have a bad day on my own time or in my office. You need to have every time you come in here, because frankly, we don't always live in a world where you get that.
Definitely.
And that's just the reality of it. It's why Pride, to your question before, becomes so much more than just a month.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I do think HMI does a really good job in community spaces of really raising up the voices of like queer people of color, and especially like trans femmes and people who really need that space. And I do feel like HMI does a really, really good job of uplifting those voices and making space for
Thank you, Frankie.
like all parts of our community, because that is so important during Pride and all the time.
Here, here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think we have one more question for you if you want to
Please.
go for it as me.
How do you feel about big corporates cashing in on Pride? How do you feel about that?
And how does HMI work with that and still,
right.
function while having such big competition?
Got it. So let's work. Let me start from the first question. I'll work my way, and you hold me to it. Help me make sure I don't forget the question. So it's interesting, right? Because just the way we're framing the question, there's an implicit bias there, right? When you say big corporate money, we're already leaning a certain way. Now, but there's a reason you're doing that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know how far you're off base, quite frankly. So I get the question. I understand it. I think that it's real. Like, I do think we have to remember, more than remember, we have to be vigilant and may actively ensure that it is not co-opted, right? So the movement will be scheduled between, like, no.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what I'm kind of, from the way the question is being worded, I think that let's say HMI, really has to do diligence around that. It goes back, Frankie, what you said around making sure that we, HMI, it's premeditated, that we're mindful, where are your voices and how do we amplify them? And frankly, it also means not just in Manhattan, right? It means in all parts of the city and beyond. So I think it's making sure that there are spaces for our young people. There are spaces, whether it's on Pride, the last Sunday, or throughout the month and the year, where, let's say, big corporations, where they're understanding the gravity. I'll give you, if I may, like, so what really kind of hones it in for me is Stonewall, right? Like, Marsha P. Johnson was 24 when she helped lead that movement, right? She was our age young people. Marsha P. Johnson was our young people. And it's our job to remind whomever is supporting, corporation or others, that young people led the way. And so we have a responsibility as an organization, and you do, frankly, as its members, to ensure that those big corporations get it and that they know their history and they know it with accuracy, because people like you led the way. And I think that's really important.
Thank you.
Now, that was my pleasure, but that was the first. Did I answer both parts of the question?
That was the first part, but yeah, adding on to that, I do want them to know, where, like, the background of Pride and, like, the origin
Mm-hmm.
of where this now celebration comes from.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also important that their involvement with Pride is giving back to the community, of course.
Not just
Beautiful.
Right?
Not just taking.
Not just taking and taking.
I love that. In fact, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
Oh,
off.
no,
No,
please.
no, no.
So here's my mantra. The team has heard me say this. I actually say this a lot. Let's use HMI as an example because I
Yeah.
think you're the testament to. You're going to prove me right in a minute. HMI or any organization, when you look at what that organization does for its clients, in this case, our young people, right? If you look at what we do for young people, you're only looking at half the story, right? So if a CEO, if I tell you, oh, we do this, this, and this, that's awesome, right? You should say, okay, great, and here's why I think that. The true test of an organization is not what we do for you, in this case, our youth members. What will you go on and do for others? That's how you make us a success, right? Because at HMI, it's about building citizens. In particular, citizens who for far too long have been removed from the conversation, unrightfully so. And so what will you go on to do, right? How will you find your voices, utilize those beautiful voices that you have, and help others across the planet to do the same? To me, that's success. That means this organization, that Hetrick-Martin Institute, works, and I thank you for that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And
Definitely.
HMI definitely does a great job of, opening up opportunities to young people that to
Definitely.
follow, and become who we all know we can be, and I know myself, at least, I've had many opportunities through HMI that I definitely would not have come across without the support I have here. So, I think this space really does that and helps people kind of grow into who they can be and might not have the resources for. And also just related to, the idea of corporate pride, unfortunately, Pride has kind of gotten to a point where almost every event costs money, and almost everything that you go to, they're trying to sell you something, and that can be extremely alienating for poor people or low-income youth, who aren't able to engage in those things. So, it's really, really important to have, at least for me, to have events where I can go and enjoy myself and not feel like I can only access the space if I'm giving money to a corporation or to a company or to even an event space or whatever. So, it HMI does have some Pride events that it holds and that it engages in. But that is always a concern of mine, and I know that there are so many members of HMI who are low income, the majority of us. So, yeah, that is definitely a disconnect, at least for myself, from Pride. I don't know if you have thoughts on that.
I have strong feelings and thoughts about that.
Yeah.
It's why we will never charge a single penny for anything we do, right? You will never be asked, anyone will ever be asked. We just had an amazing Youth Pride on Saturday, right? It was it was all free. And the beautiful thing with that, so two things. The first was Hetrick-Martin Institute, HMI, being able to take Youth Pride, which frankly historically has been like at the tail end of the summer.
Yeah.
Like to me an afterthought, and saying, whoa, wait, we start now the month, right? So when we will not be an afterthought, you will not be an afterthought. So this year, I think the first time, as far as I know, in the 20 plus years history of Youth Pride, it started on June 1st.
Wow.
Like,
I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so young people, you kicked off what will be the largest LGBTQ singular month of events that has ever existed on the planet.
Wow.
Yeah, because they're expecting, all told, maybe 4+ million people to have moved through New York City by the end of June 30th. So it started with young people. That's number one. Number two, Youth Pride, all 5 boroughs. Any day you come to HMI, events will always be free for our young people, and that's because, to your point, it's hard enough being a young person these days.
It's hard enough being young and queer, and
Exactly right.
and then to add
Exactly
being low
right.
income on top of it, and to feel that gap, especially for people under 21
Absolutely.
who don't get to access so many queer spaces. I know for myself and for my friends it can be extremely alienating, but I do know that every time I come to HMI, there's no question, it doesn't matter how much money I have in my wallet, like I'm invited into the events, and I'm, there's no worrying about that in these spaces.
And you should never have to.
Yeah.
You will never have to worry about something like that.
I'm really happy about that.
Hear, hear.
Me even coming to like find HMI, how I even found HMI was for like basically a job, like basically not a job but an internship, and like that's how I found HMI, through like just like doing stuff during the summer that was like LGBTQ plus, and like I was really happy that I even found HMI because like it seriously helped me, like it really did, like it showed me so many like internships and like opportunities and like all that. Like I'm thankful for HMI, and I'm gonna continue on coming, and I tell almost everybody that I meet new about HMI and like to come here and like just can be yourself.
Right.
Like I am myself.
We'll have it no other way. I always so you listen, we wouldn't exist if it wasn't to serve you. So, and I mean this with all my heart, like you could choose to be anywhere else right now. You're making a choice to be at HMI. There's a lot of good programs out there, really, really good, but you're choosing ours. That's a privilege for us. So it's a responsibility as well. So thank you for saying that. I appreciate hearing. I love hearing it. I also love hearing when we need to do things better, right? Because all good relationships can be rocky. So what do we need to build on, and how do we get better, and how do we keep improving? I think that's real and necessary, but it should never be lost that we are youth focused for a reason, and your choice to be here matters. So I'd say thank you to you. As kind as that was, right back at you, as we say in Brooklyn. But right back at you for choosing us, because you could be somewhere else right now.
Yeah, that's true.
It is true.
I mean, what I feel as if like HMI lacks is like it's not everywhere. Like HMI is not like in every single borough helping out every single youth that they can. That's what I feel. As if, because it's kind of a struggle coming here from the Bronx.
Right. And
maybe in the future.
Maybe in the future, but maybe not, right? I mean, another way to think about it is, let's say maybe not. Let's just, because resources, like capacity is real, right? We get that. What can we do, though, to empower and teach? So we're on our 40th anniversary right now. And that means 40 years of amazing stuff happening. Thank you. But it also means 40 years of mistakes.
Definitely.
So how can we train or teach people in the Bronx? Because it's too expensive to make a mistake these days. Money is scarce.
Yeah.
So how do we even listen, how many of us said, that was an amazing job, I'm going to analyze why it was so good? Usually it's like, oh, I messed up, what went wrong? Why didn't that work out? It's called human nature. But that's okay, because if you could take those mistakes, if you could take the things and learn from them. So anyway, all that to say, all those 40 years, maybe not physically in the Bronx yet, but who can we partner with in the Bronx? And who can we work with in the Bronx? And who can we teach in the Bronx? And because we know the Bronx loves their young people too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation.
It's my privilege. Thank you
so much.
Thanks for what you're doing. Thanks for your leadership.
Yes.
Kicking it, man. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm very excited to continue celebrating Pride with HMI.
Yeah. And if there's any young people out there, come to hmi.org. There's a whole list of a whole calendar of events, and then young people can join Monday through Saturdays, only closed on Sundays. Find us. Join, become a member, free services. Let's do this.
Services.
So, thank you
so much.
My
for
pleasure.
coming on.
Honored.
Really
honored.
Well, we're going to be closing out this interview.
All right.
So how did you feel me and Frankie interviewed you? How do you think, Oh,
that's how good it was.
Oops.
Oh no. That's okay.
Oh no.
We're still live.
Consummate professionals. Wow. This is a privilege. I mean it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
we're
thank
gonna
you.
switch around the chairs a little bit.
Yes. Well, thank you for the CEO of HMI coming on our show. And how he shall be leaving now, and we'll be talking about World Pride. Yes. There's not gonna be no break, so you're gonna watch us. You know.
May I?
Thank you. All right.
Okay.
Yasmin, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right.
Bye
Whew.
bye. Thank you.
So we're going to continue on with some more questions.
Yes.
All right, let's start. So Esme,
Yes.
you just went to Queen's Pride yesterday, right?
Yes, I did.
Or 2 days ago, maybe?
2 days ago.
2 days ago, whatever. You've been to a borough's Pride, and you've also
Yes.
been to like the general New York City Pride.
Mhm.
So what have you noticed between going to those? What differed in your experiences? Were they different? Did you tell me about both and really what that was like for you?
Well, Queen's Pride was definitely really, really, really fun. Like it felt very, very welcoming. Like a lot of people who went support us. Like even though like their voices weren't were parched or like stuff like that, they were still continue cheering us on. And like a lot of people there, like a lot of people came to our venue. Everybody was really friendly. Like it was really a very welcoming community, and like I was really happy that I actually went. Like it was really welcoming. Like the big Queens, like the big Queens Pride, Jesus Christ, the big Pride, like in Manhattan and stuff like that. It's also very welcoming. Like a lot of people go there, and like it's really, really it's also really fun to go there, but it's not as welcoming as like an actual full entire borough actually welcoming the LGBT community. Like
yeah, I know that like New York City Pride can be really, really overwhelming.
Yeah.
And like overstimulating, because there will usually be like hundreds of thousands of people there.
Yeah.
And it can just be like way, way, way too much. What was that like at Queen's Pride? Was it the same type of vibe?
It was overstimulating, but in a good way. Like
Yeah.
like it was so there were so much people there that came out, and like there was but like it was so overstimulating for me, but I still kept on walking because I felt love. I felt loved by the community, because like me just walking in this was fun. It was fun. Like I had a good time when I went to Manhattan Pride. I didn't feel as welcomed.
Yeah.
Like everybody was just really paying attention to the floats, not actual people.
Yeah.
Like not actual paying attention to the people who were there. And like it's really stressful sometimes.
Definitely.
And like when I'm trying to actually talk to people and like get to know them and like stuff that and the third, like it's not as welcoming. But like when I went to Queen's Pride, it was so welcoming. Like a lot of people paid attention to other people, and like it was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you want to go into the next question?
Yeah. So what does Pride mean to you?
I have a very mixed relationship with the celebration of Pride and Pride
Yeah.
Month and the parade and everything like that. Because I mean, as we know, like Pride started out as a riot. Like the first Pride was a full-fledged riot against police brutality towards LGBT people, and especially LGBT people of color.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of mixed feelings about it now, how it's kind of just turned into a party, where I feel like we deserve to celebrate, and we deserve to
Yeah.
party and have a good time. But also I think it's really, really important to not forget about the origins of Pride, and also just like about the history of our community. And I think that the way that Pride has become now, where it's kind of been like, oh, come buy our stuff, consume, buy our things, like look at our companies, feels really disrespectful to the original people who like started our movement, like Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera and the other amazing people who were there at Stonewall and after Stonewall fighting for LGBT liberation. So, I love, I still go to Pride Fest and go hear my love Princess Nokia this summer over at that free show. But, I have feelings. I I don't go to Pride parades anymore, for instance. For me, it just does not feel like we are giving the appropriate amount of respect to the people who started this movement, especially when there are companies, you know, marching in the parade who literally their CEOs are like, you know, anti-LGBT and like rich men who like are spending all their money on, you know, shit that we, you know, don't necessarily agree with and that don't support our community. So I have a lot of mixed feelings personally. What are your feelings about Pride?
My feelings about Pride is generally more towards like actually being happy that like, you know, like we can actually be able to celebrate, like, and actually be able to have that time to celebrate like a full month. I feel like we should do it like not a full month but like a full year of appreciation.
Yeah.
A full year of like appreciation, but like, you know, like we only get a month and we can't beg and choose of what we get, you know?
Yeah.
I'm just happy that like we actually have a full entire month for us so we can be us. Come out or like, you know, just like have a month that we can be ourselves and like be loved and like all this other stuff. I'm just happy that I do go to Pride parades sometimes. I'm obviously like, you know, even though I do go there, like it can be overwhelming, but I still stay because I like the floats. I like some of the floats that are generally more towards like trans and like non-binary people and stuff like that, and like it's really nice that they have like a lot of floats like that. And basically what Pride means to me is for me to be me. Yeah. Me to like feel comfortable in my own body and like not like, you know, not be comfortable.
Yeah, I think Pride can be like super empowering for a lot of people, especially people who are still finding their community and their space and where they fit in within the LGBT community. Because I mean, I remember my first Pride that I went to, it like blew my mind, like seeing visibly queer people all around me and being like, do I fit in here? Like, do I belong here? And being accepted in that space really shifted a lot of my own perception, you know, of where I belong in my community. But, you know, over time I got a little bit bitter, I think. Yeah, just,
but that's,
you know.
That's fine.
But it is also, like, a beautiful celebratory time. But I also wonder, like, why do I have to be, like, excited about being queer this 1 month of the year? Like, why can't I celebrate this every damn weekend if I want to, you know? Like, I don't think I should limit my pride and my queer joy to 1 month of the year.
I completely
but yeah, honestly. June is like extra gay. June is like my normal amount of pride and gayness, but like sprinkle a little on top, you know. So, have you ever heard of the term rainbow capitalism?
I have heard of the other term, pink capitalism, once in my lifetime. While I was at one of the prides, as I was at New York City Pride, and I heard it once and how it, like, it's basically exploiting, like, you know, the LGBT community. It really is. Like, basically all these big corporations are taking money from the LGBT community and not giving it back to the community, basically.
Yeah. I think those are pretty much synonyms, like rainbow capitalism and pink capitalism. Yeah. But yeah, it really is, it's really, really messed up and kind of just shameful, in my opinion, because there are, like, so many big companies that are, you know, putting up either floats or tables or whatever at Pride, or maybe they just have a Pride campaign and they're selling shirts with rainbows on it, or shirts that say "love is love," or some other catchphrase that's real easy for them to sell. But then they're, you know, they're keeping the majority of the profits. Yeah. Or they're like, you know,
only giving 10%.
Giving 10% to fucking some, you know, some organization, but still keeping the majority of the profit and like
not giving it back. I'm like not giving it back towards like the programs that need it, and like not just providing the LGBT community what we actually need. Like not giving back whatsoever. Like just taking the profits away from us and like not even giving it back.
Yeah, and it's just a really messed up idea to think that there are literally people like profiting off of our struggle and like our oppression. Because like the bottom of the line is like Pride. Like I said, like Pride was like Pride was a riot. Pride was like, this is supposed to be like a protest and like symbolism of like our freedom and our liberation, and like get these like major ginormous companies that already have like millions and millions of dollars are using this as an opportunity to like wring us of our little bit of money that we have, while we like already are people who have harder time finding jobs and harder times with housing and like we're already people who like experience like like
Mm-hmm.
poverty at higher
Probably,
rates. So to then be like going in and like going in that little pot over there and seeing, oh, what money can we take from the gays, like it's just not great. It's not cute. I don't like it.
On that note, what do you think are some ways that, as a community, that we can come together during this Pride Month to make sure we have a stand and like make sure our voices can be actually heard, not just say like, oh, your voices are heard, and not actually do anything about it? Like, what do you think what ways that we can do?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we're like continuously centering the people in our community who face the most amount of backlash for their identities, and it's important to keep creating spaces where those people can feel safe and not have to pay money. We need more spaces where we can be queer and where people are not just trying to take our cash and make a buck off of our identities. That is what we truly need. Yeah, we need to, there is so much transphobia and racism and other issues in the LGBT community, and that is something we need to be continuously addressing and fighting. And we need to make sure that that cis people are being allies to not cis LGBT members, and we need to make sure that white queer people are being good allies to like people of color that are in the queer community. And we really just need to make sure that we're showing up for everybody in the community and not just our own little bubbles and our own
Yeah, I completely understand that. That's how I also feel about like ways that we can help. Like, in some other ways, I feel like we can actually like give like actual like youth like learning about like like the LGBT community, like in basically like a whole bunch of what are they called, books, in books, in like school books, like in any type of book, like just basically learning like what we had to go through, learning how much rights that we had to fight for, and like all the other stuff. That's what I feel like.
Yeah, it's important that we are continuously reminded of the background of Pride, I think, because it's so easy to forget that, but that is our like entire foundation.
Yeah, that's basically what.
Yeah, and right now there's an exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum about Stonewall.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of it, but there's only a few exhibits. It's on the 4th floor. I just saw it, but I cannot remember the name. And it is an entire exhibit about Stonewall and since queer liberation since then. And it does that's a really great spot to check out if you want to find out a little bit more about our history. And admission is pay as you can, so you can pay $1 if you want. You can pay 50 cents if you want. Yeah. What other resources do we want to share before we close out?
There is other like programs out there that I completely forget at the center that's going on right now.
Yeah, there are programs going on all throughout the month at the center that are educating, about our history. And if you are a financially privileged person, Pride costs a lot of money. People don't realize that, but celebrating Pride costs a lot of money. And when you're low income, that can like not feel good. It can really not feel good. So if you're a person who has a little extra cash, pass that on to another queer person this month so that they can celebrate with you. And so that they can also engage in these things, because pass it on.
Please do.
Yeah, pass it on.
Please.
Make sure you're centering the right people.
Yeah.
Raise up the voices of Black trans women. just be, make sure you're fighting for your whole community this Pride.
Yes, please do. Well,
we're so sad. This is the last episode.
This is the last episode that we're all doing. Well, thank you, our viewers, for being with this journey, starting with us since December, and watching throughout the whole entire, spring and winter. Like, thank you so much for
we made it all the way to summertime.
Yay! And basically, T for T was a thing that helped us, help many. I hope this helped you learning about, like, what we had to go through if you are cis, and, like, what we, like, basically can share with you in this, that, and the third. But, like, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for engaging with us and for watching us. And, this has been a really great opportunity for me. I hope y'all don't hate me too much for talking so much. But yeah,
thank you, Yasmin. Thank you, James. Thank you, Derek, for giving us this opportunity. And, like, thank you, the viewers, for helping us even keep this running and keep it, like, us pushing and, like, trying to, like, get it out there. Hopefully we have another season of this. Maybe,
yeah,
who knows?
Hopefully, maybe, who knows? Yes. We'll find out.
So we'll find out, and okay.
So let's just, you want to give the social media handles and our handles real quick. So once again, I am Frankie Wiener. My pronouns are they, them. And if you want to follow me on Instagram, you can see my art, and you can see my face. It's at Frankie_Wiener, and Wiener is spelled Wiener.
My name is Esme Gonzalez. My pronouns are they, them, or he, him. My Instagram is king_Leo_wolf. And if you ever want to contact me or, like, ask questions or this and the third, like, go right ahead. I do not mind.
And all of the show's social media is in this bar underneath us right over here.
Yes, in the bar underneath us.
We will also say it out loud for, just because. You can follow us on the Instagram. It's T for T, spelled T-E-A, and then the number 4, and then T. And then the Facebook is T for T Show, spelled the same way. Instagram is T for T Official. No, that's Twitter is Instagram official, is T for T official. Yeah, and then Twitch, we're also just T for T, which is TEA for T.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We love you guys. Thank you so much.
And happy Pride. Be
happy
safe.
Pride.
Be safe.
Be gay as you can.
Be gay and be safe.
Straight is not allowed. Be gay.
Yeah. Oh,